You know what? I don't even think that people can fully gauge the magnitude of everything that's going to happen here in the course of the next 40, 50 days before early voting starts. We saw a little bit of that last night. We know that Elon Musk and Donald Trump had a sit down conversation, and that's what Elon wanted. He wanted to find out in just a one on one conversation with Donald Trump a little bit about the person behind the candidate. And that was a big success. The thing blew up. Obviously, they had the technical difficulties, which is going to be expected when you try to shove 1.5 million people into a digital format. It's beyond my comprehension. I do appreciate all of you joining here today. Like and share. We're going to continue to come at Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 to 5 live. I am here still in Florida. It is amazing, the weather. Last week, obviously, we dealt with the remnants of a tropical storm, a hurricane, and Debbie. And now we're finding the beauty of Florida just prior to school starting. School has started down here. But this whole thing of more in 2024, as I've shared with you, consistently through all of the shows that we've done so far, we're going to definitely see more from the opposition side and how they're going to react to what's coming down the pike. They know that we're onto them. Many of you might have seen Glenn Youngkin and what he has been able to achieve out in Virginia. Glenn Youngkin is the governor of Virginia, was able to take back the state of Virginia from turning it from a blue state to a red state, utilizing a lot with election integrity. But the censorship that's going to come down is going to be the big thing, because right now we're not into early voting in most states yet. So therefore, they've got to get out ahead of it. Some of the big surprises that you're going to see is their ability to limit the conversations that are out there, to limit the information. I think we're seeing that on the national level, especially with the campaign of Kamala Harris. You know, she has stolen one of her policies now, is that she's going to tax defer or give tax exemption to tips. Any person who works for tips will be able to work tax-free without having to pay tax on tips. Of course, we all know that it's very obvious that that was something that Trump had come out with many months ago, and now it's become her idea and the mainstream media runs with it. 17% of people in the 2020 election had no idea that Hunter Biden's laptop was they believed it to be Russian misinformation rather than actually Hunter's laptop. What had transpired then and what is going on now, it is merely, you wonder if that was just a test run of what they're going to be doing here as we walk this election season out. We are going to see more characters, more performers in the mix of all of this. And they're just not on the level of a national level, an international level. There are so many people who are vested in making sure that everything that has been going on worldwide over the past 10, 15 years continues. And we're talking about programs, as we all know it, that deal with our border security, the International Monetary Fund, digital currency, the World Economic Forum, the Green New Deal. All of these things are in play. And therefore, a lot of people's lives are at stake. Just think about our own federal government. Our federal government is comprised of people who truly know that if indeed Trump is to win the White House back, their jobs will be eliminated. Therefore, they don't have a place to go other than possibly to work for one of these companies that is in desperate need of hourly employees. This is where a lot of them will have to seek refuge. But we know that this is the stakes, and the censorship that we're going to see is going to be on hyperdrive. It's going to truly go into a different stratosphere than where it's been before. So hold on tight, because we're watching it play out. We're watching it play out in so many areas. That's why I'm encouraging you to be prepared for this voting season by going out and getting 12. I know some people say 10. I believe 12. I believe Jesus had a better number than what most political pundits have by telling you to go and tell 10 people. And those 10 people, or those 12 people, are the persuadable voters, people who usually don't vote. I've got statistics, and I'm going to lay that out for you a little later, as far as how many people truly took place or participated in the last go around of 2022's election, which was just 2 years ago. It's staggering the amount of people that don't vote, and we need everyone, all hands on deck. So we have to be talking, encouraging as many people, because I've said it many times over. I've watched it play out. They come to steal, kill, and destroy. And lying and cheating is what we see a lot of, unfortunately, in our electoral process. And it's deception. I mean, and it's becomes, in some instances, legal deception. And that's what our program is going to be about today. If you saw the headline or the title of today's program, The Best Way to Make Your Vote Count. And today's guest is someone who's been on the DPB show many times. That is Carol Davis. She is the National Election Integrity Advisor. She's the chairperson of Illinois Conservative Union. Carol has a lot of things going on, and I'm just not going to sit here and ramble too much longer, because I want her to have an opportunity to tell you guys what she's up against right now. Carol, so appreciate you being with us today. Let me see if I can click this on and add you here. I think I've got it. No, let me get the other screen. That's what you're going to talk about, the action alerts.
There you go.
Carol, you're on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And oh yes, the censorship is going full bore, and David is right. I mean, it's going to get worse as the weeks come ahead. We've had an incident here with voter data in the state of Illinois, and as I've tried to get the news out about it, I have been shadow banned. I've been on Facebook has told me that my post goes against community standards. So yes, they're going to make it more and more difficult for us to get the word out. But would you like me to just kind of let you know what's happened with this data here?
I've got it pulled up here. So action alerts right from the IEIP website. So that's IEIP. You too can go out there and look at the action alerts at IEIP.org.
Correct. And what happened is, as you know, every county contracts with different providers for various parts of their election services. And that, I know you're probably talking to a nationwide audience here, so it happens in Illinois, but I'm sure it happens in other states too. In Illinois, we have it's not so much a top down from our Illinois Board of Elections system. It's more, thank goodness, the individual county clerks still have control over what equipment, what vendors they use. So an independent cybersecurity researcher named Jeremiah Fowler discovered some exposed Illinois voter data. And what happened was it impacted voter information databases for 13 Illinois counties. He happened across this data as he was using a web crawler, and he ran across one database of what appeared to be voter data that was not password protected. And then as he did more research, he found 12 more. So a total of 13 Illinois counties that use Platinum technology, their voter registration management system. and they have a subcontractor called Magenium that helps manage this. In other words, Platinum Technology Resource has the software, and Magenium, likely to these counties, offers tech support. So in total, 4.6 million documents containing very sensitive PII, personal identifying information, were exposed. Now we're not purposefully not using the word hacked or breach, because at this point we don't know how this happened. We do know that the databases were not password protected, but we don't know if it was someone inside these companies that purposefully left them open, or if someone, somehow manipulated things. So the facts here is that this gentleman, Mr. Fowler, discovered this. He reported this to the companies involved in mid-July and kept checking back to see if they had secured these databases. And it took them a couple of weeks to actually secure this information. So he finally checked back, and by August 2nd, they were secured. So he felt safe in reporting this on the VPN Mentor website. And then, of course, it got out. My Google alerts have been blowing up with this because I have alerts on anything related to elections. So the scary thing is he says, Fowler says, I use the open and public internet and no specialized tools to find this. At the end of the day, this is critical infrastructure that was exposed. So we're fortunate at Illinois Conservative Union, with our IEIP, Illinois Election Integrity Program, to have a coalition of great organizations across the state working together. And we have a valued working relationship with the Illinois GOP. Their election integrity director, CJ Parker, got fully engaged with this the minute that I reported it to them. And he started contacting the counties. First of all, he went and found out which counties in Illinois use Platinum. Turns out to be 28 counties. And then he started contacting them individually to find out which of those 28 are the 13 that were revealed. So we have not got a definitive list yet. The one county that was mentioned in Fowler's article is DeKalb. So we know for sure they're one of the 13. But until we have definitive confirmation on who the other 13 were, we don't want to put anything out there. And we're on it every day trying to find this out. The type of data that was exposed. See, this system software, it includes voter registration and the e-poll books. If you're familiar with the e-poll books that they use now, they look like iPads to check voters in. We have been very uneasy with these e-poll books for a very long time because obviously, unlike the tabulators, these e-poll books are definitively connected to the internet. So, we're very concerned about that. But the data that was just exposed included driver's license numbers, partial social security numbers, images of death certificates, scans of documents, including voter registration applications, which means people's signatures, and screenshots of other online applications such as vote by mail ballots, voter rolls for active voters, absentee voters with email addresses, some of them even military voters. So you can see that was quite extensive. Now, in addition, of course, to your PII being out there and leading to possible identity theft in the financial realm, how this could impact our elections is that unscrupulous actors could apply for, receive, and cast vote by mail ballots in the names of unsuspecting voters. because we know dirty voter rolls plus vote by mail is the superhighway to fraud, period, exclamation. And so in Illinois, for sure, the vote by mail signature matching process is a joke. Any signature matching, folks, is a joke. It's a, forget that as an identifying characteristic. But if these bits of data have gotten out there, like the driver's license number, the last four of the social, between the last four of the social and a scanned signature, you can order a vote by mail ballot in that person's name easily. And of course, vote by mail, you say, okay, I'm John Jones. On the application, John Jones, 123 Elm Street, Villa Park, Illinois, but I'm vacationing in Jacksonville, send my ballot here. And you could have, some kid sitting in his grandma's basement ordering thousands of vote by mail ballots to be delivered to that address from various voting authorities, and they would have no way of knowing that this was someone, using that data in a fraudulent way. So we do have a mitigating, solution here, and unless I would, at this point, I would say, here's the scenario that could happen.
Lay it out, Carol. I've got it pulled up on the screen.
Wonderful. Because what could happen, and remember, I've worked in the trenches. I've been an election judge for many, many years, deputy registrar, poll watcher. In 2020, our last, of course, presidential election, when everything blew up, as an election judge, I had more people come into that polling place where I've worked for several years, and they voted for many years, and come in, check in to vote, and the electronic poll book showed that, hey, sorry, you can't cast a ballot today because someone has already cast a vote by mail ballot in your name and it's been received in the election office. That's what could happen here, because if you wait until election day, folks, someone could have stolen your name and registered a vote by mail ballot in your name. So here's our mitigation. For years, we have promoted this strategy, and thank goodness, even Mike Lindell is coming around now to our way of thinking. Hallelujah. We want people to claim your name and secure your vote. And this is how this works. At the very first opportunity, we all hate vote by mail, we all hate early voting, but those are the rules in so many states. So we're not going to take our ball and go home and forfeit the game, right? We're going to play by these rules.
Actually, in my audience that you're speaking to, they've heard it for the last 3-4 episodes. I'm telling people to get out early to vote. And we are also have been recommending that people actually get their vote by mail ballot and then take that to their election authority and submit it. So I know that's a little different than what you're talking about.
Right. Exactly what I'm saying. Let me finish here. This is exactly what we've been promoting for many years now. Order your vote by mail ballot as early as possible and get it. You have claimed your name. No one else can claim your name. Then you take that vote by mail ballot the very first day of early voting and you vote in person. But make sure you take the vote by mail ballot with you. This is key. When you're right in front of the election judge, say, I am spoiling this ballot and surrendering it, and I want a live ballot to vote today on the first day of early voting. So you're going to write spoiled across both sides of your ballot, your mail-in ballot that you're surrendering, and you're going to watch them secure it in a spoiled ballot envelope. That way, your vote by mail ballot, which you're not going to vote, won't sprout legs and wander off to be voted by someone else. Okay, so then you're issued a live ballot, you vote it, you've surrendered your vote by mail ballot, you know it's secured, you know it's not going to get voted by anyone, you've claimed your name, and then you voted in person, so you've secured your vote. Claim your name, secure your vote. We have a tab on our website with this whole process. And yes, it is a pain to do this, but this is the situation the left has put us in. Now, one more factor. Never put your vote by mail ballot in a U.S. Postal Service box or facility. Our Citizens Research National Working Group has found that your ballot that you mail 2 blocks away from your election authority in the local mailbox can travel to 3 different states with absolutely no chain of custody before it finally ends up back down the street from where you mailed it. So we do not trust the USPS. They are not careful. And of course, we know a lot of the workers in there really aren't fans of of the people that we would vote for. So we just want to make sure that you're not dropping that vote by mail ballot in a box. But the plus side of getting it early is, heaven forbid, if something does happen and you are not able to show up in person early or even on election day to vote, then worst comes to worst, you've got that ballot and you can vote, and you can have a trusted person in Illinois, because ballot harvesting, quote unquote, is legal here. You can sign the affidavit on the envelope and have someone else put it in a secure drop box or deliver it by hand to your county clerk's office. So go ahead.
We have a quick question in the comments from Marsky. Should we take the ballot out of the envelope and mark spoiled on the actual ballot?
Yes, you mark it on both. If there's voting on both sides of the ballot, which there usually are offices, on both sides, write spoiled or surrendered on both sides, and on the envelope that you would submit that ballot in. You normally would mark the ballot, secure it in a ballot envelope, and then drop it in a drop box or whatever. So yeah, let's not leave them any printed material that they can run off with and use in a nefarious way.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's a shame that we have to go through this, but in order to claim your name, secure your vote, it's the best recommendation, especially now in Illinois, for those people in those 13 counties where that data has been exposed and they are extra vulnerable.
Now, Carol, I know that your program is one of many programs that is out there nationally now. We know that the Illinois, or the Republican National Committee, has come up with the Swamp the Vote, Bank Your Vote, so many different programs, but the Claim Your Name, Secure Your Vote is more specific to Illinois, correct?
Well, yes, and I would say any state where they have vote by mail and early voting, let's not leave it up to chance, folks, because here's the scenario too. Say you've got your vote by mail ballot and you show up the first day of early voting, not election day, early voting, which in Illinois is 40 days before election day. You still have time. If you are told when you show up, oh, I'm sorry, vote by mail ballot has already been registered in your name,
Mm-hmm.
your immediate call would be to the county sheriff and the state's attorney of that county, and you would start the proceedings from identity theft, theft of your vote, theft of your ballot, and you have 40 days to clear that up and them to find the perpetrator, so your vote will count. If you wait until election day, folks, and you walk in there and they tell you, sorry, you have to cast a provisional because you've already been shown as voting, you have no options.
Well, and statistically, Carol, go over a little bit about the numbers. We've seen the vote by mail grow exponentially. And obviously, I know that people on the conservative side of the aisle are somewhat reluctant to early vote, but yet we're seeing a growth amongst all areas where people are utilizing vote by mail.
Well, yes. And, again, they have created taken such a beautiful, simple voting system and convoluted it beyond recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what we get with vote by mail. especially in Illinois, now we have a permanent vote by mail list. So people have to be very careful when they apply for that vote by mail ballot, because we taught DuPage County here, and I'm sure there are many, we've got 102 counties in Illinois. Their form they mail you a required mailing before every election telling you this is your polling place, you get the card, and on that card, it's designed in DuPage County where people can check a box to order a vote by mail ballot. How convenient. Check a box, mail the card back. Well, what the 6-point tiny little type doesn't tell you is, it does tell you in 6-point tiny type, that when you check that box and you send that card back, you are now opted into the permanent vote by mail list in Illinois, which means that you will get a live ballot coming to your address forever and ever. Amen. Whether you die, whether you move, that live ballot will be delivered. So in DuPage, if you read that card carefully, if you want a one-time this election only vote by mail ballot, which is what we strongly recommend, you have to go online to their website and request it. You cannot just mail that postcard back. In other words, there's not a box, check here for permanent, check here for one time. No, teeny tiny type. If you want to vote by mail just for this election, sorry, you have to go on the website and order it.
So they're limiting the ability for the electorate to actually get just this year's ballot. What they're hoping to do is, in perpetuity, to have ballots being mailed directly to households for forever and ever.
Well, and we'll see what we saw in Nevada or, Oregon or Washington, because what's going to happen if, we know how they are in Springfield, our capital. Oh, look at all these people even the Republicans are all opting in for permanent vote by mail. We're just going to become an all vote by mail state, and we're going to do away with polling places, and we're just going to automatically mail a live ballot to every single name on the entire 8.1 million voter rolls for the state of Illinois. We will have what they have in, Nevada. Live ballots piling up in the vestibules of apartment buildings. Hey, how about those migrant shelters where they're registering non-citizens like crazy? All those ballots piling up there because the non-citizens don't even realize that one of the forms that non-governmental organization stuck in front of your face, here apply for food, here apply for housing, here apply for Costco. Sign this one too. It's a voter registration form. So, yeah.
So Carol, you're really kind of hitting upon what we're talking about moving into this election season, which starts September 22nd. I think it was just last week, August 8th, is when vote by mail ballots could start being, you could put in a request for a vote by mail. Is that correct?
August 7th, actually, last
August 7th. Okay. So, but you're kind of, when we look at this piece of the pie, which is what you've specialized in for the last 11, 12 years, election integrity and understanding how they've expanded the ability to vote in so many different ways rather than just same day voting, anytime, same day voting, paper ballots, bring some ID, tell us who you are so we can verify that you are who indeed you say you are. But so this more in 2024 and expanding this thing, and I know that you've got so much information on this, and we're kind of being specific to what do we do now. But your piece of it, and just understanding how the masses, that people who are registered, unregistered, inactive voters can suddenly end up casting ballots in Illinois. And then you take that and you weigh that against the other factors, which we already know that low voter turnout has been something that has happened, at least in our state. I know that there are many other states. I was looking at the statistics, out of 100 possible voters, 40 out of the 100 currently vote. 23 vote Democrat, 17 vote Republican. Now that was in the Illinois midterms. And so how important is it that we claim our vote, claim our name, claim our vote?
Oh, it's so critical, and turnout will be everything this election. But let me give you all some hope because guess what? As you know, I've been working on this for over a decade. And of course, for the first 8 years, I couldn't get anyone to listen to me.
Hmm.
But after 2020, all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh my gosh, our hair's on fire. Well, hello. I've been trying to tell you this for years.
Yeah.
But that's okay because better late than never. And
Yeah.
the beauty of this is we are miles ahead of where we were in 2020, folks,
Amen.
because my organization and many organizations around the country have been busy working with their county clerks on the local level. Think of it, folks. When an election goes off the rails, where does it go off the rails? At the county level.
Mhm.
Maricopa County, Broward County, Fulton
Mhm.
County. So that's why what we've been preaching for all these years. Every county needs a local citizens watchdog election integrity task force. And they need to build a great relationship with their county clerk or election authority. And they need to make sure that county clerk knows that, we're here to help you, but we darn well will hold your feet to the fire if
Mhm.
you're not following the law or if you're being sloppy in your practices. And so, what we've done, of course, you know that we're the only organization in Illinois that Judicial Watch has chosen to come alongside. And we've worked with them since I cold called their Washington, D.C. office in September of 2017. I knocked on their door and I'm like, help, I'm from Illinois, help us, and we need help. And they've been wonderful through all these years to work with us. We sued the state to get access to our voter rolls. We won that lawsuit back, we settled that lawsuit back in July of 23. And then we turned right around and we sued the state again. And that lawsuit is working its way through federal court. Now we don't mess around with Illinois courts. We only go to federal court with Judicial Watch. And we're going to make the state obey the federal law and remove inactive voters from our rolls. So, for example, just here in Illinois, we have about 8.1, 8.2 million registered voters, losing many every day who are moving out of the state.
Yeah.
But our analysis with Judicial Watch after we got the voter rolls showed out of the 8.2 million, we could have as many as 800,000 inactives who should have been pulled off the rolls years ago.
Mm.
So that's 10% of our voter rolls. So that lawsuit is actively going through the court. Of course, it's not likely that the state will allow us to settle this, before November. So we never put all our eggs in one basket. We have a very active voter list maintenance team throughout the state of Illinois, led by a wonderful former county clerk named Willard Helander, who's doing phenomenal work. And those teams are working on that local county level with their clerk, bringing them the validation that, yes, this person should be taken off the rolls, they're dead, or
Mhm.
this person should be removed because they already registered
Yeah.
and started and voted.
So, Carol, give us a little definition. What is, if there's possibly 800,000 inactive voters, what qualifies somebody as an inactive voter or disqualifies somebody as an
Mhm.
inactive voter?
Okay, here's the process. This was actually set up by a federal law called the NVRA, the National Voter Registration Act, otherwise known as Motor Voter.
Motor
And
voter.
that law was signed into law by Bill Clinton in 1993. And of course, the Democrats were determined. It was one of their many steps in crumbling the foundations of our election system in the country. So that law mandated that every driver's license facility in every state must offer people who come in for identification or driver's licenses the option to register to vote. So when people do that, in some states, such as Illinois, they don't just offer them the opportunity to register.
Mm-hmm.
We have automatic voter registration.
Yep.
So people come in for a driver's license and they're automatically added to the rolls unless they opt out. So what happens is you get a lot of unlikely voters, people who will never bother voting, aren't interested in voting. So those are what turns into your inactive voters, because those voters are sent down to the counties in which they reside, and those registrations are parked on the county voter rolls, and the county waits for them to vote. They send them their little cards each election and all this. Well, if those people haven't voted in 2 consecutive federal elections, the federal law says that you need to send them a postcard and say, hey, are you still here? Are you still alive? And if they return the postcard and say, yes, I am, then they'll keep them on the rolls. But if that postcard's not returned, or indicating in some way that that person's still there, those people should be removed from the rolls.
Should be. Yeah, there's that word, should.
Yes. And what's been happening is the clerks are parking them on the inactive list. So you've got people parked. I call it the little left's bank account, their piggy bank. All these voters parked on inactives, which any PAC, political action committee, or someone posing as a candidate can purchase the state's voter rolls and just go to the list and look at the inactives and say, oh, look, Joe Smith hasn't voted in 10 years. He's probably dead or living in Florida by now. So we'll just order a vote by mail ballot in his name and have it sent to grandma's basement because we're vacationing in Berwyn this year. So
what stops this aside from pushing for at the county level, at the lowest level? I mean, what, because this has happened to the past 2 cycles, that's become more and more of an issue. So what's the remedy for this?
Yes, the remedy is clean voter rolls, and that's the only remedy right now. Well, we have to do away with vote by mail. The Carter-Baker Commission, way back in the 70s, a Democrat and a Republican, Jimmy Carter and I think it was James Baker, they issued a report on this. They did extensive studies about vote by mail, and they said that it is a superhighway to fraud. Don't do it. But the Republicans slept their way through the last 4 decades, while the left is all about process, folks, about undermining the process. They're very strategic. We're just too darn trusting on the conservative side. We think, oh, nobody would ever do something like that. Well, guess what? They are. So like you say, my least favorite word, because I get calls and emails from people all over all the time, my least favorite words are should be. They should be doing this. They should be doing that. Well, guess what? They're not. Welcome to Realville. So we have to have poll watchers in the vote by mail processing centers. And if a vote by mail envelope comes through with no signature or a scrawl that nowhere matches the signature that the processor has pulled up on their screen, stop, alert. We have to have their back. We have to have lawyers who are willing to say, no, you're not going to process any vote by mail ballots where they're questionable. So clean the voter rolls, eyes on every ballot, and it's all hands on deck, folks. You know what? Nobody's going to fix it for you. Carol can't do it with my little tiny team, even though we're all working frantically. Yeah. And we have a wonderful nationwide network now, the Election Integrity Network, that was begun by Cleta Mitchell, one of Trump's attorneys in Georgia after 2020. And we've built a fantastic network all across the nation where we're doing this network model. We've got the national network, then we've got state coalitions like ours, and then we've got our local task forces, hopefully in every county, but not yet because people aren't getting it.
Well, and we've been working, and this is kind of where we came in, Carol, my wife and I, getting involved was out of the 2021 election in Virginia. And I know I mentioned that in my opening statement here on today's show. Hey, we so do appreciate all of you that are joining us today, whether that be YouTube, Facebook, X or Rumble. Continue to go out there, like and share. If you have any comments or questions for Carol or Ryan or myself, by all means, put it in the comments section. But I did mention in my opening statement that Glenn Youngkin, if we want to look to, Ryan, you said, what do we do? Well, here's a man who won an election in Virginia. And look at what just recently happened. Carol, can you speak into that a little bit as far as what they were able to achieve in Virginia, not only in 2021, but now going into 2024's election?
Absolutely. So they want a paper trail for everything. And Governor Youngkin has assured that with an executive order. No more of these machines that you cast a ballot digitally and then you get no receipt showing who you voted for or anything. They want a paper trail on everything, so everything is auditable. And yes, we learned the claim your name, secure your vote strategy from the Virginia model people that we work with every day in our coalition. So they have really been serious about turning things around in Virginia. And see, folks, once you get that great Republican in an office of importance like the governor, you can do wonders with your election systems. So, and plus, don't ever think your voice doesn't count. Let me give you an example. Even in Illinois, how your voice can make a difference. We had 3 ranked choice voting bills come in the Illinois legislature last session that they tried to cram through, 2 in the House and 1 in the Senate. And we got wind of those and we unleashed the hounds of hell on those people. And we tapped into some of our national partners, one of which is AMAC, the Association for Mature, it's the alternative to ARP, the retired persons. Well, AMAC has tens of thousands of members in Illinois. And when Carol puts a call into Andy Mangione at AMAC Central in Washington, he will unleash all his members on an action alert, and combined with our coalition action alerts of our network, we were able to pour thousands of emails and phone calls into every legislator when those ranked choice voting bills were coming up. And we stopped them, folks. We stopped every one of them. So I don't want to hear anybody say, my vote doesn't count, my email doesn't count, my call doesn't count. It does count. Silence is consent. Do not be silent.
All right. So now, Carol, you've opened yourself up, and we still have some time here on today's episode. We have a commenter, Mary Carlisle. Please ask everyone listening to email 12 or more friends with Carol's advice ASAP. Carol, the progressive movement, which is continuing to advance themselves despite whatever efforts we're putting forth. You just brought up ranked choice voting. I know a lot of the listeners aren't aware of what, first and foremost, they're not going to the polls as it is, but what is ranked choice voting and why is it so detrimental to the electoral process?
Oh, man. It would take me a day to try to describe.
Give us the cliff notes, and we'll tell people where they can go and find information on ranked choice voting.
Okay.
Because this is something they're really pushing nationwide, not only in Illinois, but in all other states.
Yes, and it's a nightmare. So instead of having primaries, it's just all hands on deck. Anybody who wants to get on the ballot and turns in enough signatures, you won't have primaries. You'll just have a general election. And so you could have 20 names for governor on your ballot. And what you do instead of selecting, from this one or this, maybe you've got a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a libertarian, a Green Party, maybe 5 at the most. Now you've got a plethora of people to choose from, but you can't just vote for one on ranked choice voting. No. You have to rank them. You have to vote for them all in order of how you want them. So you mark your favorite guy, and then you have to go through and mark, I want this one second if my guy gets kicked out, and then I want this one. It is a nightmare. It is so confusing. And then what happens is the ballots take much longer to count because there's an elimination process. So out of the, a group of candidates you have, and remember, you don't just have one office on your ballot that you've got to do this for. You've got how many offices you're voting for. You could actually be in the polling booth, in the voting booth for a
all
long
night. What could go wrong with voting for 20 different people that you like?
Exactly. And of course, all the equipment in your entire state would have to be upgraded or replaced to accommodate the complex tabulation that goes into ranked choice voting. So it's hugely expensive to implement. And then there's a good chance that your ballot will actually get thrown out. Now, is your ballot ever tossed out? No, it's usually legitimately counted, even if they're counting yours plus 10 that shouldn't be there. At least your vote is counted. But in ranked choice voting, if it turns out, well, you didn't vote for the right guy, he was one, but now he doesn't have enough to rise to the cream of the crop, so that vote that you cast is thrown out. So actually, Alaska was tricked into putting ranked choice voting in, and they have gotten enough signatures on a recall of that resolution because they tried it one election. It was such a disaster that now they've got enough signatures to get it removed in this upcoming November election. They're going to do away statewide with ranked choice voting, and chances are good they're going to get back to the original way of voting in Alaska.
Well, Carol, obviously you've given the audience a lot to think about. I think the critical thing is understanding that this exposure of 4.6 million voter files is alarming. To know that took place ahead of this next election. As I have said, and I don't know if there's something nefarious. Now, I loved it when you used that word nefarious, because my wife and I just sat down the other night and watched the movie Nefarious. I strongly encourage you all to look or go out and watch Nefarious. Also, another plug for a movie is Father Stu. Definitely go out and watch Father Stu. It definitely a little colorful in the language, but great movie. But we know that there's going to be things that are happening because ultimately we are sensing the total changing of how we choose and elect our governing people. And that's never going to stop. They're not going to stop until they have it to a point that they might not even have elections any longer.
Exactly. Well, I truly believe that this election in November is the bottom line, folks. And again, it's going to be all about turnout and eyes on every ballot. This is not a time to sit back and trust that someone else will do it. Little Carol Davis, the little granny from Illinois, is not going to save the world, folks. I've been trying and I haven't succeeded. I need help. We need help. And so don't just hear this and shrug your shoulders and say, what difference will I make? It's the starfish on the beach. You pick it up and you throw it back and you made a difference for that one. You know what I mean? You didn't leave it dry up and die on the beach there. You gave it a chance at a little bit longer life. Let's, I don't even use the word let's save our country, because you know what? Our country is lost. We have a two-tier justice system. However, I believe in redemption.
Yes.
We can redeem our constitutional republic, but redemption comes with a price. A price must be paid for redemption. And that price is your own personal comfort, your own personal sacrifice. Get up off your chair, get involved. We will be doing trainings, poll watcher training, supplemental election judge training, tons of information on our website, the claim your name, secure your vote strategy. And here's something beautiful that you can share with friends, neighbors, anywhere. Our top 10 tips for honest elections. top 10 action items. It's a PDF download on our website. Simple things like download your sample ballot a couple weeks before you go and vote. Make your selections. So when you walk into the polling place, you know exactly those names on your ballot, and you'll recognize it if a harried election judge hands you the wrong precinct ballot. You'll know right away, oh my gosh, my candidates aren't on here. You gave me the wrong precinct, because now, of course, to save money, they group a lot of precincts into one polling place. So these are little easy tips, top 10 action items for honest elections. Download it, print it, share it, practice it, preach it, and let's get out there and win, win, win. Like Trump said, fight, fight, fight.
Well, and I just put up your website is up there, so you can go out to Carol's website, Illinois Election Integrity Program. Carol, I know you're doing tons of training. You mentioned my friend, your friend, Tanya's friend, CJ Parker. CJ's been a great asset. He came alongside of us in 2022. There's a big story behind that. In fact, I'd love to cover it, because one of the gentlemen that came here to the state of Illinois with CJ was Mike Roman. He was named in that lawsuit down in Fulton County that President Trump was also named in. But you're doing training. Each county, hopefully, that has in place an election integrity program is doing that. I know Kim Miller is over in the comment section. She's got a series of trainings coming up.
That is beautiful to see. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, Kim's got that. I know that my beautiful wife is going to be back on doing Zoom calls. The only difference is this time around, she's not going back to teaching in the classroom this year. That's part of the reason why we're still in Florida, because she won't be returning to the classroom. So we're going to be putting on the full court press. We're going to help any county that's out there. I know you're open for that too, Carol. This is kind of the groundwork we laid back in 2022, was to get to this point. We do need people, and we need you to be actively engaging with the process of election integrity, because that's the only way that we're truly going to turn this back, to redeem it, to restore it.
Yes, and we can do this. Don't feel hopeless, because I have more hope than I've had in years working on all this, because I know how many good people are behind the scenes. We kind of fly under the radar because we don't want to tip our cards to the left, but we're accomplishing a lot, and with everyone's help, we can turn this around. I say work and pray, and work and pray, and work and pray.
Well, Carol, it's been informative, and I don't want to get people, as we say, get you swimming behind your eyeballs here today, because there is so much. Because ultimately, the reason that we're where we're at is because they have overcomplicated it. We're hopeful that we can simplify this. It's not easy. The process isn't going to be easy, but we have to go out, and we have to be engaged in this process. Without us, when I titled this show today, The Best Way to Make Your Vote Count, you heard that. Claim your name, claim your vote. That's what we need to do. So get in touch with your election authority. Let them know that you want a mail or vote by mail ballot sent to your home. Take that ballot down to your election authority. You're going to remove it from the envelope. You're going to mark spoiled on it, and you're going to ask them to give you a new ballot. Is that correct, Carol? I think I got that right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And do it early, so that if, heaven forbid, you show up and you're told someone already, sent in a vote by mail ballot in your name, then you have, in Illinois, 40 days of early voting to contact your sheriff, contact your state's attorney, and find out who the rascal was that voted in your name, and throw that guy in prison.
Hold on, I gotta read this. I gotta read this live comment. This is some good news. Our friend Sarah Froberg from Tazewell County, she was very instrumental in helping us with the election integrity program there. She says that I finished my radiation treatments for breast cancer tomorrow. I plan to get involved again once I recover. Hey, I love it. Praise
Absolutely.
God. Thank you, Sarah.
Praise
Thank
God.
you. Thank you.
Wonderful
And I know there are many others that, Kim Miller, as I said, very instrumental in helping us in this process. We've got the people, and I think, everything is possible, but through the strength and power of God. As you said, it's important that we are petitioning God at this point. Our country was founded. Our rights come from God, not from government. They come from God. We need to petition God. We need to ask God to oversee not only our elections, but every aspect of our lives. Hey, we're going to have Carol back. Carol, I so appreciate you joining us. I mean, Ryan, we didn't get to say much today. Usually,
No, that's okay. This was very informative. I don't need to say much when she's in charge.
Ryan's a new precinct committeeman, so he's really up. He's probably got more information now than he possibly wanted. So he has some information he can take to his folks in the Gridley area of Illinois. And but Carol, thank you for being with us today. Once again, the website is ieip.org. It's in the comments section. Carol, you're a blessing. I know that you consider yourself as a tired person who has been pushing this rock up the hill. I've got the feeling the flywheel's about ready to fully take speed up, and we're going to see great results.
Well, thank you so much. And I like to just say I'm a granny on a mission. That's all I am.
Well, we need a lot of grannies on missions. We need young people on missions. It is time to engage. Once again, contact 12 people. There are plenty of people who do not vote consistently. Don't rely upon what you believe you know. I know it's easy to say, I can't believe anybody in their right mind would believe some of the shenanigans that are going on out there. No, you need to point them. You need to help them connect the dots. You need to help them understand why it's important that they don't waste any time, that they engage day one of early voting in their state, whether that's September 22nd. I know in some states they go before September 22nd. That's Illinois, but early voting is going to start. We don't want them to tee off on us by calculating how many votes they need for the margin of error. Not this time. As my beautiful wife says often, not today, Satan. We're not going to let it happen. Hey, once again, I appreciate everybody that joined us today here at the DPB show. Continue to comment, continue to share this video out, continue to get in contact with Carol or the Illinois Election Integrity Program. Contact me, contact Ryan, contact your election authority, your county clerk. Be engaged. Until Thursday's show, I always like to say that I love you, but Jesus loves you more. Hey, farewell until then. Thank you. Take care.